I got goals to chase, I got roads to pave. Not yet where I wanna be, but I got close today. I went ghost today, I got least to say. I've been focused on these dreams like I didn't sleep today. Y'all can be so amazed, y'all ain't seen nothing like this.
What makes the hobby fun?
Everything?
Everything, honestly. Sometimes, so, you know, Gary and I will come here a few times a week. We have day jobs. You know, starting this hobby shop and owning Relikks is, it's a business obviously, but a massive part of it is the fun. But we joke with each other sometimes when we're here. I go to Gary, like, imagine we got to do this every day. It literally is like working in a candy store. I think part of the fun in the hobby is the different elements of how you can participate in the hobby. One obvious one is ripping wax. Ripping wax is the equivalent of spinning the wheel in a slot machine or playing roulette or anything else, right? The only difference is no matter what, you're going to get some value back. You may get a little bit of what you paid for the wax, you may get break even on it, or you may even make a lot. Whereas in the casino, you know, I personally know, I spin the roulette wheel all the time. I usually go home empty-handed. The other part of it, for me personally, and I've said this in the past, is just the ability to play a general manager. So, you know, if you're a fantasy sports guy, which I am, you know, if you are into sports and you're into calling trends or seeing players that are really performing well, that you think will continue to perform well or way beyond their expectations, you could actually place bets on those players. The way GMs, you know, orchestrate trades or make drafts. You buy those cards, you sit on those cards, and you wait to see those players turn into what you think they're going to turn into. And that's like a huge fun element for me is, you know, I've always wanted to be in the sports business, and it's just a way to participate in that.
It's like everything all encompassed into one, right? Sports, gambling, right? Like betting on players, right? As opposed to just teams. So it's like, that's the fun aspect of it, right? And there's so many avenues you could be into it. The big thing is also community.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's so many people into it right now, and people get really worked up. People get really excited talking about it because it's fun and defensive because you're investing in someone, somebody disagrees with you, and you know, lots of banter. So it's also that community aspect, right? Like you could see on our live streams that when the chat is buzzing, people are having a good time, right? Like people have never met, people don't know each other, people would never meet in any different world because they're on different sides of the world in age and in everything. But this connects you, right? And you're kind of, it brings everyone together and you have fun. Everyone's having fun together. Yeah.
Personally, I love just, you know, I love watching the player and hoping that they're going to do well. And then seeing them do well, it's like the payoff is great, you know, because again, you're kind of proving yourself right in a sense where you're banking on it and, you know, it's the right call. So just being able to monitor and keep up with what the guys are doing, that's probably my favorite part. It's like another excuse to watch a sports game.
Yeah. Totally. And even just the, like, you know, when I was collecting cards, vast majority of cards look the same, like physically and aesthetically. You know, listen, when I remember I think it was Pinnacle came out with a goalie mask inserts. I don't know if you guys remember those, but back in the day, probably 94, 95, Pinnacle came out with these like foil goalie masks, and I remember hitting the Felix Potvin goalie mask, which I was chasing so bad, and that was the first time, you know, sports cards started to really like take an aesthetic turn where it wasn't just a photograph of the player. So I think another fun aspect personally for me now is seeing new sets come out and seeing sort of the aesthetic differences of those sets and the way some of these patch auto cards are now and the different types of, you know, like if, for example, in the Mosaic football hobby, they have these inserts now where it's like a statue of old icons and greats. So that's another fun part. It's just always being surprised.
Yeah, and the quality of, like, we have a couple of nice boxes here. Immaculate, beautiful product. Flawless, beautiful product, right? Just seeing the quality of these products is incredible, right? Because before it used to be, other than like Upper Deck had some beautiful products, right? And then for a while it was all the same, right? You see the same stuff.
Same old piece of cardboard.
Yeah, it's the same old piece of card. It's just a photograph of a player, right? And I think that's now where it's like, you could look at it as genuine art, right? So we all have PCs. Sometimes I just genuinely like to take out one of my PC's cards and just look at it and be like, whoa, this is so cool. And like that's part of, you know, people in the hobby geeking out. and other people may not understand it. But listen, I'll even show a card sometimes to my wife, who has obviously no interest in the hobby, but she was like, yeah, wow, that's really nice looking sort of piece of collectible. So now it's really starting to fuse collectibles, art, you know, all that stuff coming together. So kudos to the manufacturers for making that happen. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We love doing these shop talk videos. We try to put them out as often as we can. If you have any feedback or comments, make sure to include them in the comments below. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit follow. Always a pleasure handling these videos and engaging with the audience. So thanks again, guys.